Hello, this is the Provoked Prawn, and this is a video on Corsair's iCue LT100 Smart Lighting Towers. These are two RGB powered smart lighting towers for your desk that offer ambient RGB lighting integrated with Corsair's iCue system that allows you to synchronize your RGB lighting with other Corsair peripherals, mice, keyboards, headsets, fans and all sorts of other things, to offer an ambient RGB lighting on your desk in a nifty looking design. These towers stand at 42 centimeters, 422 millimeters tall, and include 46 addressable RGB custom LEDs within the housing that allows you to offer a vivid lighting with subtle illumination, or interestingly a variety of different settings that include video lighting effects, essentially mimic what's on the screen to give you that ambient lighting for immersion in games, and I'll show you that a bit later on. Now, I've covered something like this before with Corsair's LS100 backlighting kit for monitors, where you basically put some RGB LEDs on the back of your monitor to give a backlight glow. And I've also covered other lighting kits like Razer's, NZXT's, and there's Philips Hue lighting that you can also sync with your games. And I really like doing this. It's a simple addition to your gaming experience, which actually really enhances the overall look of the game and your gaming area and makes the game a bit more immersive in that way. And this is a nice way to get into it while also having these pretty nifty looking towers that offer some nice Corsair flavored RGB lighting throughout the day. So obviously when you're not using it for video lighting effects or music lighting effects, you can have various other effects. In the box of the starter kit, you obviously get the bases for the two towers, the towers themselves, and the necessary cables for setting them up. It's worth noting that you can also get an expansion kit, so you can have 4 towers potentially, so obviously add a bit more jazz to your desk. There are a few cables to install, but the process is pretty simple. You basically have a charging cable, micro USB cable to connect to your PC, and a cable to go between each of the towers. Create a circuit and then obviously have that lighting. The towers are also reversible, as you'll see as I go through this unboxing video, which basically means you can turn them away from you, and that is something that I'd suggest is worthwhile doing, although I'll show you the downside of that later on. The base itself also has an RGB lighting ring around the outside and the bottom of it, which gives a nice sort of RGB glow on your desk and a nice bit of lighting enhancement on your desk area as well, which is pretty nifty. The setup process is fairly simple, and as standard, even when they're just plugged in with power, these have a number of different lighting effects out of the box with 11 profiles available. And you'll note there's a button on one of the bases that allows you to basically turn it on and switch between them, and those are then easily adjustable within iCue software once you get it plugged into your PC, and you can customize it the way you want it. I like to use instant lighting to have everything connected in the same color, which adds a really nice hue and that sync across there. Obviously there are a number of other settings, and I'll show you that within the iCue software a bit later on in the video, but the initial setup process is a breeze. This is the connection cable that goes between the two towers. You basically just hook those up really simply, and then, as I said, you need the power cable which plugs into the mains, and then the micro USB cable that's included that plugs into your PC. I'll include all the details you need in the specifications in the description, so you can check that out, as well as links to purchase and find out more and see the official site details and all that jazz too. Now, another thing that you'll note is on the left hand side in the video here, there's a little hook there on the desk still. That is a little attachment that goes on the top of the tower that you can then hang your headset off, which is a nice little addition. So if you have a wireless headset, or even a wired one actually, that you want it out of the way when you're not using it, you can hang it on the tower on this little hook, so you got a little place to keep your headset out of the way. I can't use it for mine because I use the Astro A50 and that needs to go in the base station for charging, but if you want to hang your headset somewhere to keep it off the desk, then that's a nifty way of doing it. Here you can see one of the towers reversed, so you can turn it around really easily. Basically take it out, switch it around and put it back in again, and that way you can put the ambient lighting against the wall instead, One thing I'll note is I don't think it's terribly bright, and I'll show you that a bit later on. When it's facing away from you and is reflecting off the wall, I didn't find it that bright. And I think I noted the same thing with Corsair's backlighting kit. As though it adds a nice ambient lighting, it's not that bright. It's not as bright as Philips Hue, for example. So if you are in a quite well lit room, you probably won't notice it as well as if you're in a really dark area. The RGB lighting, as you'd expect, especially with the synchronization between all the different bits of kit that you have, offers a very nice design, and there are loads of different effects available. And video lighting is obviously one of the interesting ones in terms of ambient, but you also have that lighting link with spiral, rainbow wave, color shift, color pulse, visor, rain, and all those good ones. There's a special one called Super X on the lighting towers, which is pretty nifty. And then obviously static colors and other things. As I said, instant lighting for me is wonderful. I really like having a blue hue on my desk, and having that in the PC, on the fans, on my mouse, keyboard and other things also looks really nifty. But here you can see switching between instantly within the Corsair iCue software, just a couple of clicks, and a number of different options are available. If you're familiar with iCue, then you already know basically the setup process in here is fairly straightforward. It's worth noting that you do want to set up a hardware lighting option, because I found these are obviously plugged in all the time, so if your PC's turned off, they still have a source of power, which means they're lit up even when your PC's not on, which I found a bit annoying and wasteful. But you can set up hardware lighting to basically set them to black and have them turned off when you're not using them. Otherwise you'll find you've got a lighting hue on your desk even when you're not using your PC, which can be a bit of a niggle. So it's worth going into the hardware lighting and adjusting that, and then you can go through and set up various lighting effects. You can also do a setup process to customize the area of the screen that the video lighting will focus on. So depending on how many towers you've got, you can adjust the space to cover one side of the screen and the other, or the entire screen, and you have a customized screen capture option. As I said, there are 46 LEDs within here, and you can actually customize them individually within the iCue software. You can see them represented as little dots on there as well, so you have a lot of customization options here. Now, the pitfalls of it, for me personally anyway, is, as I said, I don't think it's that bright when you're using it turned around facing the wall in terms of ambient lighting. But facing towards you, I found them a bit too bright, especially on white, for example. If you have the video lighting effects turned on, as I'm showing here, you'll also see the sort of color representation isn't that amazing. So it's meant to be representing what's on the screen here. I'm just going between different colors in paint to show you the differences, and the video is not doing a terrible amount of justice, but you can see it's not perfect. Obviously it represents what's on the screen, so the top toolbar, for example, is white, so it's fair enough that the top was white. But the other section wasn't necessarily fully representing exactly what was on the screen 100%, so I didn't feel like the ambient video lighting effect is perfect, and I'll show you that a bit later on when I'm actually playing a game with it as well. Don't get me wrong though, I'm not saying I don't like the lighting on this. It is very nice with the various different effects. I just found that the lighting when it's facing you is a bit too much during the day, made my eyes ache, but also when using it facing away in ambient mode, like bouncing off the walls, it's not bright enough, so I struggle with it. I think I'd prefer the backlighting kits personally. If you're looking to add a sort of nice funky addition to your desk that's slightly different, because how many of these lighting tower systems can you see, then this is certainly one of interest, although you can obviously get other lighting things that you could potentially look at. I have done, for example, a hexagonal kit previously. There's also Philips Hue portable lights that you could get. Those are other options, but if you want something that's tied into Corsair's iCue system and ecosystem, then this is potentially an interesting option. And it does set off the monitors and look pretty nice on either side of them too. As I said, here you can see got it set to instant lighting where everything's blue, and it's got a nice bit of vibe to it. Here's the reversal process. Basically just tug it out and then plop it back in, click it into place. Now I have RGB lighting on the back of my desk thanks to Philips Hue lighting strip, and that's set to blue at the moment, and it's actually overpowering the LT100s. So I turn that off and you can see now there's a rainbow effect on, and you can just about make it out on the wall. Now this is during the day, so there's quite a bit of sunlight spilling into the room, but it doesn't really show off that much. And I've tried it at night too, when the room's a bit darker and with my other lights turned off. Just found that in that reverse mode it doesn't really light up the wall that well. It's not immediately obvious. It doesn't add a great deal of ambience to it, so I think it's better if it's facing you. But for me personally, I found my eyes are a bit too sensitive for it, so I just can't strike that balance properly. Now here we are in Assassin's Creed. I wanted to show how it reacts between the various different locations, and you can see the lights changing ever so slightly here. Now this is obviously a very bright scene with a lot of like sunlight going on and the mountainsides and other things, but I did feel when I was playing that it was mostly giving off a very white hue to it. It wasn't really representing the various colours that are on the screen. You will see a little bit of it changing in a minute where I'm going to various other areas, but I've definitely seen better representation and colours from, for example, Philips Hue Light Sync. I thought that does a better job, so if you're looking for something that offers that immersion through the light sync, then I'd say these towers aren't the best, and I would definitely recommend looking at Philips Hue instead. That said, it is a nice little tweak and some custom option lighting as well, and something potentially different. Here you can see them in a menu system, and you can see it changing a bit more. So there's a sort of blue hue with a background representation there. It also changes when you go between the various menu options, but again it's not representing perfectly what's on the screen, and it's a bit tricky because obviously certain sections of the screen that are meant to be represented on the towers, and then it changes between them. But again, it's just I just didn't feel it was as immersive or as well done in terms of that ambient video lighting as other options I've seen. And here you can see it reversed, reflected on the walls. Turned all the lights off, so there's no other light source apart from my RAM sticks, and you can see it adjusting, and it's a bit nicer perhaps, but it's very subtle, and I just didn't feel like it was quite bright enough to do it justice. I feel like the lighting kit that I'll link to in the description, I don't know, video one that goes on the back of your monitor, is a bit more effective in that way. There's quite a lot of lighting on the back of that because you basically fill in the entire back of your monitor all the way around with lighting strips, but it is diffused, so it's got that going for it that it's not too garish. Anyway, this has been the iCue LT100 Smart Towers. Hope you found this video useful. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions. Thanks for watching. This has been The Provoked Prawn. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. Hope you found it useful, interesting, hilarious, or all of the above. Be sure to check out the description for other information you might find interesting, and subscribe and watch these other videos as well that I think might be useful to you, and have a great life.